Sandy, thank you.
Yes, how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much. I had to thank Ross Schwartz.
Yes.
Put us in contacts, and it's like it's such a great connection. I'm so pleased to have you aboard the transatlantic. I learned a little bit more about you, and you're a very fascinating person. So I'm very looking forward to crossing your ocean. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And I just want to tell you that your questions are the most complex questions that anyone's ever asked me in my entire life. So I'm just going to really hope that I'm intelligent enough for this, and that I'm going to trust our friend Rob Schwartz for introducing me to you, and believing that I could have the substantive answers required to have a conversation with you.
I'm sure you will. Look, okay, let's start with the first question, okay?
Yes.
Parrots are associated with men, but there have been a few fascinating female parrots who
Yes.
left a mark on this world. One among them, it was called Anne Bonny, and she began her life as the legitimate daughter of a wealthy Irish lawyer. She later moved to America, where she married a sailor in 1718 and journeyed the parrot-infested island of New Providence in the Bahamas. Now, Bonnie was a fierce and courageous gal. If you were to add a trait to your personality, a parrot trait, what would that be?
Well, Simone, it's interesting because I consider myself fearless in the world of business, but I do not consider myself fearless in the world of physical feats. So I'm going to say that if I were going to have a trait like a pirate, a fierce female pirate, I would like to have the courage to jump into physical feats like skydiving, bungee jumping, cave diving, ice climbing. Or have you ever run with the bulls? That
I
would be
did not, but it's funny because I think everybody check boxes to go once to Pamplona and run with the bull, isn't it? No, I never done it.
I have to say that I think everyone who knows me in the entire world would think it was very humorous if I was running with the bulls.
Oh, yeah.
And I would just have to make sure I probably shouldn't wear pearls.
It's so interesting that you mentioned running with the bull. It's very interesting. I was always fascinated by the kind of feast that they have in Pamplona, every year. And me being raised in Europe, and I actually went to Spain so many times, very, very often. So kind of very close culture to us. That's interesting. But I gotta say, because you have your own agency, Terri and Sandy, somehow I don't think there is a day that goes by that you don't run with the bulls or you do a bunch of jumping.
You're absolutely, you couldn't be more right. And I have horns in my back, endless, right? But as I said, it's fascinating. I don't know if you feel this way with yourself. My business self and my personal self are not necessarily consistent. And while I have incredible, I'll go up against anybody or anyone for business. I believe in myself. I have confidence. If I do get hurt, I get back up. But when it comes to physical feats, I feel very different, and I'm much more intimidated. So hence, I'm going to channel my pirate spirit and maybe embrace one of these terrifying things in the next 10 years.
That's awesome. Okay, second question. An Ocean Apart is a movie by Frederic Garçon, and it's set in Paris and Chicago in the late 40s. Now, it revolves around the passionate, tempestuous love affair between Simone de Beauvoir and an American novelist called Nelson Algren. Between the two of them, there was actually an ocean apart. And it's a beautiful, beautiful story. And it's a story built upon distance, and a story that encapsulates the meaning of distance as connection, as proximity. You never really associate distance to proximity, but in this case, even though there was an ocean apart, there was that kind of proximity. was there a time in your life when you had a connection? It doesn't have to be romantically, like even like a creative connection with someone that was an ocean apart.
It's interesting. One day I'm going to interview you and you're going to tell me where you get these questions from.
I can tell you right away, that's one of my favorite writer. Well, I like, I know the story because Simone de Beauvoir is one of my favorite writers. And like, of course, when I went to Paris, I used to work in London, so I used to go to Paris like quite often. My like, ritual was to go and pay respect to her graveyard, because she's buried together with her husband Jean-Paul Sartre. They are the Montparnasse cemetery. But so anyway, that's like where I get these stories.
They're great. Well, I'm not sure. I definitely don't think I can relate to this from a romantic perspective, but I can from a creative perspective. My creative partner, Terri Meyer, and I, now we've been creative partners for over 30 years. I'm the writer, she's the art director. We were in St. Louis, Missouri when we met years ago, and we came here. We've worked at J. Walter Thompson and FCB. And we have the ability, I would say, to annihilate distance, even when we're an ocean apart. There have been times when Terri's on a shoot, let's say. Terri can be in South Africa or Australia or Buenos Aires, and I'm in New York. I'll walk into a meeting, let's say, and say something like to the people who are in the room, I'm so happy with the way this spot is looking. But I don't know. I'm just a little bothered by the mother-in-law's response after the dog barks, and people will be like listening to me. And then let's say Terri, who's in Australia, pops on a Zoom like 5 minutes late. And she gets on the Zoom and she says, "Hi, everyone. Hi, I'm in Australia. I just got back from a helicopter ride." I was thinking, is there still time to change that shot of the mother-in-law after the dog barks? And everyone in the entire room looks at each other and looks at me, starts laughing. And so we do that all the time. It literally happens every day, whether we're in the same city or whether we're an ocean apart. And everybody always says it's so bizarre. That's exactly what Sandy just said. And that kind of thing happens with us a lot, and about all kinds of things, from like trivial things. Like I'll get on the phone and say, "Oh, I love your haircut. It looks so good." Terri gets on the phone in 1 second. "I love your haircut. It looks so good." It's just, I don't know how that happens. We will both wake up on a certain day and text each other. I'll say, "I was thinking we should reach out to blah, blah, blah." And she'll go, "Oh my God, I was literally just going to text you that." I don't know.
I think, yeah, it's like 30 years together as partners in this business. It's quite an accomplishment. And not to mention, like, I think that sometimes I'm very like maybe serendipity. Maybe you guys that were destined to meet and to connect in this lifetime. I don't know. I even think like the name Terri Sunday. So it's just one name. Like, even when you pronounce it, like it's very melodic. It's very like, it's made to be together. If you were to think about Terri, like which name would you go with Terri? Like, you probably have Sandy. You know what I mean? It's like those kind of things, like kind of like give you like a glimpse into like the fact that maybe it was meant to be these like 30 years. Yeah,
that's a beautiful sentiment. Thank you.
Okay, third question. The genome of the octopus shows a staggering level of complexity with 33,000 protein coding gene, more than is present in the Homo sapiens.
Yeah.
There is a possibility that today's octopuses are the descendants of creatures that arrive on Earth frozen in an icy comet. Now, this is a fascinating theory and one that makes my brain go wild. And there are those kind of theory out there. Most of the time when I listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson speaking, it truly like, it kind of like knocked my brain down. Now, looking at the advertising landscape, is there anything that is the equivalent of the octopus that's truly like you discover or you encounter and truly made your brain go wild?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if it's just advertising, and something tells me that this is the most obvious answer. And I have a feeling if you ask 100 people, you'd get a lot of people saying this right now, which is AI.
Yeah.
Where AI just it forces you or inspires you to ask endless questions. Like, how can I ensure that AI is developed ethically and responsibly without perpetuating bias or discrimination? And what are the risks and unintended consequences? How can we, ensure that AI is transparent and accountable? What are the ethical implications of using AI? So, like, I don't know a lot. I wouldn't consider myself anywhere near fully versed in AI. And I've just started, playing around with chat GPT with people in my life and my daughter and stuff like that, asking it questions almost every day just to try to learn about it. But it certainly makes my brain go wild.
Is
It
it?
kind of,
Yeah,
it
I mean,
kind of reminds me of digital. It kind of reminds me of when digital, when you first started having those conversations in advertising about when digital started sort of coming to life, and you'd have all these conversations and there was this terror of it. I remember, like, because nobody really understood digital at first. So it became, if someone knew something or anything, everybody just wanted to believe in it. They were right because somebody needed to tell them the information. And I guess it's the wild, wild west.
yeah, I do remember the moments like, and I do remember also like there is a video that went viral on internet, which was like a couple of journalists talking about what's this thing called internet back in the day when internet was still to be like, widely known. So I think that's one of the things that probably is truly interesting in this case is like the ethical implication, as you say. It's truly like something that can be challenging. It can be like, kind of like if you will, like kind of like worrying. Like, what I mean is like that's what truly like, worry me, the ethical implication, because no one truly knows how progress can unfold. And that's, in this particular case, the path that progress can take, it can be quite dangerous. But that's me just talking about like, what I've read so far. As you say, like, I don't think none of us knows exactly what we're going into. Yeah.
No, but isn't it interesting? It's like, it's almost like it's what happens anytime there's a major innovation,
Yeah.
and at first it's just mind-blowing and nobody understands it, and everyone wants to lean on all the people that understand it. And we wonder, if we'll survive the innovation or will it ruin us, or all these questions. And AI now, I think people are saying, but yes, that's true, but is this the biggest innovation in the history of innovations?
Absolutely. Hey, give me a second. Anyway, well, thank you so much. No, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
Okay.
Okay, look, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go for 4 questions. Okay, this is an amazing journey, by the way. I mean, it's really loving your answers.
Oh,
This is
thank you.
about like the Sirens and Ulysses, and it's a large painting on canvas by the English artist William Etty, first exhibited in 1837. Etty portrayed the sirens as naked young women on an island with corpses like surrounding them, almost in decay. When it was first shown to public, this painting was extremely polarizing. Some people found the painting filled with genius and raw talent, while other people found the painting completely tasteless and vulgar.
Mm.
Have you ever found yourself developing creative work that truly polarize the audience? After you sold the work and it got produced, you start receiving like truly mixed reviews. Some people found it like, this is very smart, Sandy. Or some people think, this is not your best work, Sandy.
We did a spot for the Super Bowl. Wow, probably 16 years ago. It was for Planters Nuts. And it was my only Super Bowl spot. And it was a lot of pressure because it was for, at the time, Planters was owned by Kraft Foods, and they had never done a Super Bowl spot. So, I mean, doing a Super Bowl spot, no matter what, is pressure, right? Even if you're on Bud and they do 50 Super Bowl spots. But we did this commercial where the idea was this ugly woman with a unibrow, and we don't know why, but all these men are drawn to her. They follow her through a glass wall. They follow her into traffic and get hit. They, you know, it's like they are drawn to this like woman who is unattractive. She has a unibrow, and we don't know why. We end up discovering it's because she, the spot's called Perfume, and she rubs cashews behind her ears every day, and it's sort of a secret perfume. Most of the responses to the ad were very good and funny, and we made the top ninth, number 9 on the USA Today ad poll. And this was kind of before all the buzz before the Super Bowl. That didn't happen at the time. So, but what was interesting is one night I was sleeping and I had fallen asleep with the TV on, and I start to hear the National Women's Organization, whatever now is, you know, is objecting to this commercial where they've objectified a woman and are making fun of her for being ugly. And I was like, wow. And so a little debate started to erupt around it, but it never took off, and the feelings were far more just people laughed and thought it was hilarious. But it was interesting that I'm a feminist. I'm a strong advocate for women. So to sort of wake up in the middle of the night and be accused of being sexist, you know, and making fun of women that wasn't fun. I've never regretted doing the spot though. So
you could have given me like a better example, man. It's like this is a gem. This is a gem. It's awesome because even the way you told the story, it's like wake you up in the middle of the night and someone you're like sexist when you are like, you know, a feminist. It's like it's just like the story, the way it's structured is like quite beautiful. It's like almost like pure comedy.
It really is. I never really thought about it though, the way you've brought it up in terms of being polarizing.
Yeah.
But yes,
as I say, I was writing this because myself, I did like a few times happened that I did some work that like, you know, it was very popular and it got very polarizing. You know, some people like thought it was extremely smart. Some people thought it was just like, you know, a boutade or just.
Which one was that, Simone?
Well, the latest one, it was we had like this stunt. It happened to be like a short film where to advertise like NVIDIA a gaming console. You only need this console in your living room. The whole concept was like rule the living room, and to actually make sure that people understood that everything that you need from this console stream from the cloud. We had the idea of throwing a guy in a living room from 10,000 feet. And we did it for real. We didn't use any CGI. We actually built like an entire living room, actually 3 living rooms, and boarded like a C-130, went to Arizona and dropped the entire living room from 10,000 feet. And, you know, of course, like I was at the KQA at the time, and it was an amazing like film and most of the people like were mind-blowing, like, it was mind-blowing for most of the people. Like, we had amazing reviews, like a lot of people on Reddit talking about it, like, and it went viral. But there are a few people who have found it, like, why? They were asking, what is the strategy behind why? Almost like a buzz killer to me, because sometimes, and I read this somewhere, if you have to explain why for every single things, you kill things. Like, sometimes you don't have to explain.
Right.
Sometimes it's an intuition that takes shape and you run with it. And it's just beautiful the way it is. But again, we are working advertising and everything is very well calculated.
Yeah.
But it was a very, very successful video.
Well,
And
that's great.
the campaign back in the day when I was a young from Matt Hamburg, it was very polarizing as well. So anyway, I do like work that is polarizing. I'd rather prefer having mixed review than having like a general quite, yeah, that's a good word, but that's just me.
I mean, like, listen, if anyone ever really loves what you do in advertising, if some people hate it, it's still way ahead of most, because everything is either, if you really talk to people outside of advertising, they hate advertising, and it's an intrusion and it's boring and they don't want it.
Yeah.
So I think that I'd rather be loved or hated than just annoying.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fifth question, Janis Joplin's.
Yes.
Janis Joplin's ashes were scattered by plane into the Pacific Ocean at Stinson Beach in Marin County, California. I like to believe that some of the waves are remarkably different from others because they contain the DNA of like Janis Joplin. And Janis embodied an attitude in life that comes from a certain attitude, a certain verve, blended with sadness. Though some of her lyrics are truly like poetry. Janis Joplin, like, I had to admit, influenced my poetry quite a bit in a very unexpected way. I've read a lot of poetry, I've read a lot of poems, but strangely enough, the lyrics of Janis were the one that truly influenced part of my poetry in the latest years. Is there a person whose life and work has helped shape who you are today? And it doesn't have to be in advertising, it can be in any kind of field, but the person you are today, you standing in front of me, has it been influenced by someone else's work?
Yeah, I can relate to what you're saying about Janis Joplin, and I would say I've had many people influence my life. But today I think I'm going to throw out, I'm a big fan of Madeleine Albright. Madeleine Albright said, "There's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women." And this line has driven so much of my career. Terri and I have had the honor of having some incredibly talented women in our groups and our agency through the years. We hired a young girl named Jill Applebaum years ago at DMB&B in her first job, who went on to become, a global creative strategist at Facebook, and most recently was CCO at your agency, Wonderman Thompson. We're really proud to have encouraged Jill early on.
Can I say something just right there, because this is serendipity?
Yes.
Jill is the person that hired me.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So I hired her, and Terri and I hired her in her first job.
I didn't know. Right after this recording, I'm gonna message her now.
Let's message her right away. Let's call her together. That would be hilarious. So yeah, we go literally, like, I don't know, 35 years back with Jill Applebaum. She was our assistant at DMB&B, and then we hired her in her first writing job. And we also hired Liz Taylor, who's now the global CCO of Ogilvy, gave her first job. And I feel the proudest when Liz or Jill say, Terri and I played even a small role in their career trajectory. We've tried at our own agency to, you know, inspire women and teach the people at our company everything that we know. And so I would say that, you know, when we hear something like, thanks for paving the way, you know, on one hand, I feel like, wow, I must have been here a long time for that, to pave the way. But it's the highest of compliments. And I guess it goes back to Madeleine Albright. And when I see someone not helping women, and in fact, doing the opposite, I'm like, Madeleine would not appreciate this.
And there is a special place in hell for them, right?
There's a special place in hell.
Gosh, I love it.
I can't believe Jill hired you.
She did. She's an amazing person. She is
Yeah.
like a sweetheart, and she was the one responsible of bringing me aboard, like Wyndham Thompson. I actually joined Wyndham Thompson because of her. I mean, I love their personality, her like attitude, everything about her. She's a wonderful person.
And then you talk about like changes. If you had moved to New York for Jill, right?
Yes. Okay, good. Like sixth question. There is a YouTube video that racked the millions of views since it first appeared. And it's titled Deep Sea Oddities.
Yeah.
It lets you listen to all kinds of weird sounds happening at the bottom of the ocean. You might think that 7 miles down into the abyss, sound is non-existent. You're wrong. The deep is very, very noisy, the deep sea. If you were to record a video titled Advertising Oddities, what would be the first oddity on your list?
Wait, what was the last part of the question, Simone?
If you were to record the video titled Advertising Oddities, all the oddities and all the weird things in advertising, and you had to record the video, what would be the very first things on your list? What's the weirdest thing in advertising?
Oh my God.
I have one which I think is true. And I hear other people saying this. So let me help you.
Thank you.
No, I mean help you meaning like let me you know, give you a hint. Like I think advertising is one of the few places where you can be fired if you're doing the right thing. And I'll tell you what that means. Means like, there's another guy actually said, he wrote a beautiful article, this guy, Cameron Day, about this. They say like, you know, if you are, sometimes it happens that if in a corporate environment, you're trying to push, you're trying to be obsessive about the quality of the work, you're trying to be like extremely passionate, and all these attitude, all this action comes with a ripple effect. You had to be uncomfortable and make other people uncomfortable. In certain kind of environment, this is not well accepted, and we know that. That's a fact. In certain kind of environment, this is not well received, and so you don't belong to those environments. So paradoxically, even though you are there trying to do the right thing, you can be fired for doing the right thing. Because quiet is better than to be loud in that kind of case. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, I don't know that I've got a good one for this one. I just think we're in the weirdest oddity of our business is in our hearts and soul. We're in it for greatness and a bit of artistry and creativity. And, you know, for many clients, they aren't, you know, and I think it's wonderful when we pair up in those rare occasions with a client that genuinely wants exactly what we want, which is to disrupt, which is to make an impact, which is to be polarizing if need be, but be loved or hated. But it is the oddest business in that there's so many people that are in it on the other side that don't care about that part of it, you know, that they just, it's just not, they don't value it. And, you know, of course, I always try to make it matter for building a brand and being successful, but not everybody sees it that way. And so we're in this business. It's the big, you know, our business is, we want to be in it for the art and we want to be artists. And it is just not necessarily that business. I think for the select few that end up, you know, landing in the right place and doing the greatest things, that they have more potential for that. And I think you've done amazing work in your career. You've clearly landed in the right places with the right clients that want that, but it's a clash of business and art, right? And we both know that business can be better with art, with an artful touch, but it's a just constant conflict.
That's a beautiful answer. That's a beautiful answer. We got to the shore, and it's the last question. And this is the question we ask to all our guests at Transatlantic. If there was a wind that blow your sails,
yeah,
and you had to give it a name, what would the name be?
Nolita.
Oh my God. So articulate that for me, Nolita. It's beautiful. And it's also like Nabokov novel, Nolita. I love it.
Mine is just simply because my daughter's name is Nola, which means of noble birth in Latin. And various people, many who are Spanish in our lives, have always called her since she was a little baby, Nolita. So I thought that's what I'd want my win to be, that pushed me forward.
That is beautiful. I love the name. Sandy, thank you so much for being on board Transatlantic. It was a wonderful journey, and I wish you all the best to you and Terri and Sandy. And you guys have been like standout agency on Ad Age, which is like awesome, on the A-list. So congratulations again. Like, I mean, what can I say?
Thank you so much, and congratulations to you for all of your accomplishments, and you can be the captain of my ship any day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.